All right now, y'all. Peace, peace, peace. This is your brother Ilya Rashad Mohammed, one of thousands of students of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the Nation of Islam. And of course, I want to share some information with you yet again. Information pertaining to the UFO phenomena that has been of high importance in the news and to your political and military leaders because you know that these unidentified planes that they've been calling drones have been seen over New Jersey and over the East Coast and several other cities. And so, what we want to do is bring some clarity to this. Are they drones? Are they UFOs? Are they orbs? I mean, what are they? And whose are they? So we want to bring a little clarity to this heavily conflated and confused topic. First of all, let's start with what we know. And what we know as students in the Nation of Islam is that these wheel-shaped planes that we call wheels, others call them UFOs, but these disc-shaped circular planes that we call wheels are absolutely real. And we know this because it's on every damn record. Political records, historic record. It's even been prophesied in your biblical and Quranic texts. So whether you are coming from a religious perspective, whether you're coming from a strictly secular and academic perspective, whether you're coming from a strictly scientific approach, there's no way that we can try to overlook and dismiss this very important subject. And what we know that has been proven and is overly obvious is that those wheel-shaped planes that the Nation of Islam introduced to the world are absolutely real. So real that it is because of the connection of these crafts and the Nation of Islam that introduced them to you. It is because of this relationship that this topic has been placed above top secret by America's government and military intelligence. We can get into that later, but what we want to do is bring clarity, particularly to this whole notion of these drones, as they have been called, over New Jersey and over the East Coast. Well, just as we know that these planes are real, these wheels are on record since at least the 1940s for damn near tormenting America's most powerful military bases and sites, other military sites and bases around the world. These wheels have been demonstrating their superiority over all of these militaries and their technology by doing things like shutting down their communication systems, by interfering with the malfunctioning systems of these secret military sites and sometimes nuclear sites. These wheels have been on record for destabilizing entire military nuclear bases and even dismantling these ICBMs, or what they call them, intercontinental ballistic missiles, during their test runs. I mean, just doing all of these things to show their superiority. This has been taking place in the background since at least the 1940s. This is not what's been on the 5 o'clock news. This is not the kind of information that comes across your timeline. I know that. But if you were to do any diligent research, you'll find that what we are saying is actual fact that you certainly can't disprove. So these are things that we know. These wheels are real. They have been tormenting and interfering with this world's most advanced nuclear weaponry and military weaponry. What we also know is that the government Governments, but particularly the U.S. government and its military intelligence, have been straight lying to the American people. And that cover up about these planes has so much to do with the Nation of Islam's direct relationship to these. How is it that the Nation of Islam has been publicly teaching about these crafts before the UFO phenomenon even became a thing now? Before all the mass sightings, before the government concerns, before all of that, the Nation of Islam is already on record for teaching this publicly. So much so that we were called a voodoo cult in the early days in the 30s because of these strange kind of teachings, only to find that decades later, everything the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Farrakhan have been teaching in this regard has been actual facts. Now that we are on to this drone things over New Jersey, here's what we know. Yes, some of these wheels have been present. Oh yeah, over New Jersey and over all these other cities too. But what the enemy does to try to conflate and confuse the public is rename and relabel what these crafts are. Now, I'm pretty certain that the enemy or the government and military have sent up some of their drones and aircraft in an attempt to intercept those wheels that have been over Jersey and over the East Coast and over their military bases. So what the enemy does is try to confuse the public by just calling all of them drones. Yes, they send some of their drones up there to try to see what's going on. So to keep you or the public from knowing that these wheels are present and ever present over their military bases, their sensitive military sites, they just call all of them drones. What we notice in our research is that one of the ways that the enemy lies is through an intelligence tactic that's called a limited hangout. I kind of learned what that term is a few years ago. I heard my brother, student minister, Dr. Wesley Muhammad, that very powerful researcher and student of the Honorable Minister Farrakhan. He, I guess you could say, hipped me to that terminology. I've always known that the government did it, but I didn't know what it was called. A limited hangout is an intelligence operation where, for example, the government, they may share some information about a certain subject. And when the government shares certain information, they try to make it seem as though they're being transparent. But in a limited hangout operation, they'll share just enough information to try to satisfy the public, but they'll do it in a way to mislead the public by keeping away the most important information. So when it comes to the UFO phenomena, or as they call it, UAP, and now they're trying to classify all of them as drones, what they do is that they'll acknowledge what's overwhelmingly obvious, the fact that these planes exist. But they will never tell you the source of these planes, and the source of those planes, these crafts that they call UFOs, goes back to the Nation of Islam. That is the most important fact about this phenomena that they will never acknowledge, even though it is on government record. Okay, so here's what we also know. Since they lie the way that they do, here's what they're likely going to probably end up doing as part of the cover-up. What they often do, and I talk about this in my book, one of the ways that they like to cover things up is that they will highlight the obvious hoaxes. They will highlight the fake so-called UFOs and fake incidents and downplay the real occasions where these wheels are seen and whatnot. So they would highlight the AI, the CGI, or the hoaxes so that they'll garner all this attention. And once the people have their attention on these hoaxes or CGI or AI, then they'll pull the rug from under them and say, ha, see, these are not real. That's one thing that they're likely to do. The other tactic that they'll likely do is, now that everybody is pretty much aware that these so-called UFOs are real, even though the public doesn't know where they're from or the origin behind it, most of the people are aware that these crafts do exist. So what the government will likely do is that, as the more conscious the people are of these crafts, they'll try to take credit for it. And they'll try to come out and say something like, you know, we found out that it's been a secretive government operation this whole time. It's been us, and we just didn't know it. It was a secret operation. You know, they'll do something like that if they don't try to say it's alien. The alien narrative didn't work. They've tried that for years. But they'll do anything to keep the public away from the truth. And that truth will lead you to the Nation of Islam. There's no getting around it, y'all. So, I don't think that they're going to say that it's a foreign adversary, you know, but they'll say anything or tell you anything to keep you away from the truth that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Farrakhan have been proving to you. I'm your brother, Brother Ilya Rashad Muhammad, student of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam. And I just want to remind you to take advantage of these resources that we've provided. Our book, UFOs and the Nation of Islam. Our documentary series, Answered. Part 1, The Prelude. Part 2, The Coming of God. And get ready for spring of 2025, where we're going to release Part 3 of Answered, which will deal heavily with the battle in the sky. And you can best believe that we are encouraging our critics, our enemies, our supporters, everybody to make sure you check out these resources. And the more you do, the more you will see exactly why our enemies and these leaders and government, these very powerful government officials and agencies, have been running from dealing with this important topic as it relates to us. So, brothers and sisters, I thank you for giving me this amount of time. I did not plan on taking this long to talk about this. I guess that's that educator in me that makes me want to explain stuff. So anyway, y'all just make sure you stay connected, and there's more to come, okay? So stay connected as we continue to try to show and prove how the research verifies the revelation. Peace.